Hi, I'm Madeline James, and in today's Swords Chat with Chris, we are mostly going to be talking about the things you want to consider if you are world building martial systems, you know, swords, armor, that sort of stuff. Just all those different things that you might want to think about. The other chats we've had will be linked down below, and yeah, let's get to the chat. We've talked a lot about a lot of things. And we started with talking about a lot of the, like, cultural aspects with sword fighting and styles and all that stuff. So to get a little bit more, like, specific. Weapons. Yeah. Specifically. So, and I mean, I feel like weapons and armor tend to be very paired, because obviously you armor for the weapons, and your weapons are paired to defeat the armor, right? They're kind of, you know, have to be matched up. But, like, what would you think if someone's writing, you know, one of these, you know, types of books that we're talking about, and they're trying to choose, like, what type of weapons to use? Like, are there, like, patterns that you've picked up on through your historical study and stuff like that?
I think the biggest mistake is assuming that one-handed weapons are light and easy to use.
Okay.
That's crap. Most rapiers weigh very little less than a longsword.
Yeah.
And sometimes they weigh more, because they're longer. And they might be less chunky in the blade.
Right.
But they have all that stuff around the hands.
Yeah. And you're only using one hand.
Exactly. So it's 2.5 pounds held here rather than 3 pounds held here.
Right.
And I think there's not as much of a difference as people hope. I also think there's this misconception... oh, man. And this misconception lives in HEMA, too. Is that curved weapons don't stab people. That's silly. Okay. My entire saber system is built on, I say mine, the one I train, is built on setting up the thrust. Like, everything about it is set up to just stab the guy.
Right.
And stabbing people is often more dangerous than cutting people. There's no way to put a sword through someone's body part without doing some serious damage.
And also depending on the weapon, like... Or the armor.
Yeah, so let's talk without armor for a minute.
Yeah.
I think, the big one is that size of the weapon versus size of the fencer.
Okay.
Is a common, like, oh, she's little, so we gave her daggers.
Yeah. You see that so much.
But also, like I said, all my small AFAB fighters, a lot of these women and non-binary people and stuff are very, very happy to use a giant sword. One, because, like we talked about empowerment earlier, it is a power trip and a half to take a sword bigger than you and twirl it. Yeah. And Montante is spinny. Yeah. Right?
It's fun. You don't get to spin that much in, like, actual realistic sword fighting.
Whereas in Montante, you're specifically told to. And in Two Swords, you're specifically told to.
Which I like.
Right? Because it's just hilarious.
It's fun.
Right? So that's the first one. Yeah. So you do not have to match the size of the wielder to the size of the weapon. You just have to be aware of how you need to move it so that those things are feasible. And also be realistic about it. Bigger weapon, not slower weapon by definition. That's another one. I think we watched a little bit too much Dark Souls and, you know, had far too many things. It was just a giant guy with a giant sword lumbering around. Oh, it's so sad. It makes me so upset. Like, I get it for a video game because mechanics for a video game are needed for mechanics of a video game. But, like, in reality, large, heavy weapons are also often momentum-based. So you get them moving, and then they just go. Right. They move under their own volition. You're kind of guiding them. I always say that with great swords, it's different than with, like, long swords or sabers, where you're moving the sword if it's a smaller sword, whereas with great swords, sometimes the sword is moving you, and you just kind of have to let it. Yeah. Right. I've had the experience of fighting on gravel. Okay. We were playing a historical thing our greatsword instructor taught in this outside space, and there was, like, a gravel path. Okay. Like a driveway. And if you got enough momentum, your cuts would drag your feet in the gravel. Like, you would shift whole body just from sword momentum. Yeah. Which is, A, terrifying the first time it happens, but B, also, like, super cool. Yeah, that is really neat. You've got enough movement and enough power going that it'll drag you across the floor. The sword will take you for a ride. Yeah. One of the hardest parts of moving a greatsword at speed with momentum is learning how to not let your sword rip you off balance. Yeah.
Or rip you.
Ugh. Yeah, no. Some bad experiences doing that wrong.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's a thing that we need to keep in mind, is that they're not slow just because they're big. They're not fast just because they're small. You need to be skillful enough to do that.
Yeah.
Right? More power, not more better. Right? This isn't tool time. More power. It's enough power for the situation to do what you want. Overswinging is an issue. Underswinging is an issue. Creating huge amounts of force and contact have a different effect than meeting a blade more gently. So, like, when we're picking weapons, like, you get big guys, just big thing cut through. Not useful or accurate necessarily. Now, notably, I'm sticking with swords right now, because that changes a little bit when we move, and unarmored, and then changes a little bit when we move out of that space.
Okay.
There are very few swords that can't cut, and very few swords that can't stab. That is a modern issue. That is not a real issue. You get a lot of people say rapiers can't cut.
Right.
It's a sword. It has edges. It cuts. End of discussion.
Yeah.
In a lot of modern HEMA, we don't allow points on cuts with small swords.
Okay.
But the small swords could cut. Sword's a sword. In the end, it has maybe a better blade geometry for stabbing people. Some swords are a little stiffer so that they can stab people better. But, like, I don't think we have systems that are set up to do a thrust style of fencing or a cut style of fencing. But that was cultural.
Yeah.
So in Germany, at some point, we split into cut fencing and thrust fencing and decided that we use the same weapons for different things. And you're like, or we could just put them together.
Yeah.
And do cut and thrust fencing. And you're like, these are all manuals written by the same guy with the same weapon 3 or 4 years apart from each other. But, like, here's the thrust-centric way of fighting. Here's the cut-centric way of fencing, and here's how you mix them.
Yeah.
Which is valid. But, like, I don't think we should be going, this sword can't cut.
Right.
Or this sword can't stab, because that's silly. Now, even if we have a sword that can't cut, something like an S-stock, which is usually described as a thrusting sword, often on horseback, often with a blade profile that doesn't allow for a good edge to be put on it. Whacking someone with a bar of steel is still a valid way to injure.
Yeah, just more bludgeoning, I
Yeah,
guess,
I mean, just because someone doesn't put a cutting edge on a crowbar doesn't mean it's fun to be hit with it.
In D&D, no matter what you hit them with, it's just different types of damage. Still
Which is where the armor starts to come into play.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, if we're still on choosing weapons, I think it's important not to fall under those weird tropes of girls can't fight with a heavy weapon, and boys won't do little girly pokey weapons, because small sword fencing is fun as hell. It's also ridiculous, and there's a lot of, like, one-upmanship in the books. Like, if they come at you too hard, punish them by twirling around, putting the sword on your back, and stabbing them with the behind-the-back thrust, because it's funny.
Right.
Jonathan used to do it to me all the time. I learned how to not do that thrust because Jonathan would always void me off, put his sword on his back, and spin with his whole body, and just stab me in the guts. And I was like, it's humiliating every time it happens. And now that we do demos and stuff together, he makes me thrust overly hard on that side so he can do that just for the demo.
Which, like, fair. It's probably, like, cool looking.
Fine, but, like, why is it always me? So that's, like, a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Also, and this might get me some flack from sword nerds. In the end, a sword's a sword.
Yeah.
So again, in the end, a sword's a sword. They all build up on each other. The more sword forms you learn, the more you realize just how similar they are. And what defines the differences is details. So, like, the idea that someone gets handed a sword that's not their own and suddenly doesn't know how to use it is silly.
Yeah.
You stick them with the pointy end, you cut them with the sharp bit. Right? I need a center line, I need timing, I need footwork, I need understanding of measure. Like, 95% of fencing theory is sword agnostic. Right? It doesn't matter what weapon I'm training with, I still need to know how to get in and out of the fight. I still need to understand how to protect myself. I still need to understand how to push people off. Right? These are all things. So, like, I think the whole, like, this is my sword, there are many like it, but this one is mine kind of trope for someone who's like an advanced fencer or fighter is silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, having said that, though.
Yeah.
This is something that I thought was fantasy bullshit before I started fencing, is that swords do feel right, or feel wrong, or move in a way that you like.
Oh, like a bad sword.
Or move in a way you don't like. Not even a bad sword for you.
Okay.
And a bad sword for your style. And I don't mean big category saber. I mean individual sabers work better for different things.
Okay.
I can have a thinner, faster saber, which for my style, which is very bind heavy, not useful. Because I don't have the same presence in the bind. People used to say that when I started off, and I was like, you're full of crap. Everything you're saying is a lie. And then I found a new sword for myself, and I was like, yeah, no, you're right. It's very upsetting, honestly. So I think there's something to be said for good sword fighters can use all swords. I think it's also, though, to say that I can have a favorite.
Yeah.
Or I can have a style that is more beneficial in one weapon or the other.
Right.
So again, going back, I'm finding the more I talk about it, a lot of my philosophy around these things is built around the system that I train, where he, at the beginning, goes, this is best done with a moderately curved, moderately heavy saber with good hand protection. However, here's a list of all the weapons you can do this with. If you're using a straight weapon, you have to go offline more, because the curvature doesn't do the offline aspect for you, so you have to be better in your footwork.
Right.
If you have a sword that doesn't cut as well, or only cuts in parts of the blade because it's not sharpened all the way, which is true for a lot of swords, or doesn't have a back edge, which is true for some swords, then these specific techniques won't work.
Okay.
If you have a thrust-centric weapon, like a small sword kind of idea, then yeah, maybe the cutting bits aren't as useful for you. But again, even if it's not a sharp piece, if someone does something and you whack them across the thumb and they can't close their thumb anymore because it's bruised, which I've done to someone by accident, they can't hold a sword anymore. So like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're choosing these weapons, yes, I don't think there's a problem with having a character who has like their sword, but also the idea that a master fencer can't use someone else's sword.
Right, they would know all these other things. They'll just be like, alright, well, I'll just lean into these techniques more. I already know them all.
Exactly. It doesn't move quite as well as mine, because mine is really, really well balanced.
Right.
Or mine is really, really light, or the weapon is balanced to the hand versus to the tip. All these things are true.
Yeah.
Also, not all swords are balanced the same. That's intentional. They're meant to do different things. A 1796 light cavalry British saber is built like a hatchet. Like the weight's like way more up top because it's meant for coming down from a horse. It's not as nimble for someone fighting on foot.
But if you're on a horse, you don't.
But on a horse, it doesn't matter. You're sort of whacking people's heads off from above.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that there are not ways to fence with that from the ground. We know this because outside of practice, the M1811 Blücher, which is the German equivalent to the 1796, has a training manual from Berlin, from the Berliner Turnschule, a little bit after that, that is how to fight with it on the ground.
Right. Because at some point you're going to be off the horse.
Yeah, you're going to fall off your horse, you get taken off your horse, you're not going to have time to get to your horse.
Right.
So it is built with a cavalry fencer in mind, and builds off some of the things that are more likely in cavalry fencing, which is a little bit less of this, because that's how you chop your horse's head off by accident, so it's over the top and it's here. But it still works. It has my favorite silly guard, which I call the mustache guard, because you hold it right here like this. So the blade comes right here, so you can see right over top of it, and it looks like it's a mustache.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is that there's so many details about the swords that at some point they stop mattering.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
Even just how we hold them, there's so many ways to talk about it that, like, to each their own at some point. I think the idea of, like, there is one way to do it is silly, and my kung fu is better than your kung fu trope is sometimes silly.
Yeah.
Because everyone does it differently, and everyone has a different purpose and a different way of fencing and different weapons available.
Yeah.
So finishing up on weapons choice there, most swords, there's always exceptions, most swords do cutting and thrusting. It's your system that affects which one you use more. And your opponent, which affects which one you use more.
Yeah.
Anyone can use any size weapon. That's one of the reasons I like, for example, Gideon the Ninth.
Yeah.
she's using a longsword, greatsword, somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
And is a smaller woman, and I think that's legit, and
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
A HEMA person was involved in some of that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That I know.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a thing. When it comes to fighting against armor, sharp things can't cut armor. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stop having a sword that's so big and heavy and sharp that it cuts through armor. Stop it. Great swords don't cut through armor.
Yeah.
That is a bad bit of, like, 60s, 70s history. And the reason we have this is that this was actually written in a book about greatswords, or a small pamphlet about greatswords from the Styrian armory in Graz in Austria. That they saw what they considered an arms race between armor and swords. And as armor got thicker and heavier, swords got bigger and heavier to keep cutting through armor. It did not cut through armor. It's just not real.
Yeah.
Unless your armor is made of paper or cloth, swords will not be able to cut through it. Like, even leather is hard to cut sometimes.
As an aside, I need to actually film my experiment. I've made all my different pieces of armor. I have hardened leather, lamellar armor. I have a piece of, like, steel, like, it's like a...
Yeah.
I can't remember. Like, I got all the, like, step-ups, and I'm going to stab him with my sword.
Mm-hmm.
I need to film it.
Yes.
I need to do it.
Yes, and if you want, I'll bring my sharp greatsword.
Ooh.
And we can really put it to the test.
Ooh, like, I use this one?
Yeah,
and
then if
then...
it doesn't get through, we'll see if the greatsword does.
Oh
and
my
if
gosh.
it still doesn't...
Let's do it.
And then what we also have to do is put it on a thing and then put, like, a watermelon under it. So, okay, it may not have cut the armor, but it sure shattered everything underneath it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to fighting against people in armor, you have to find the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
That is real.
Mm-hmm.
That is very real. But just because I don't have a weapon that's designed for that doesn't mean I can't do it.
Right.
Longswords are not designed to fight armor. Longswords are designed to fight people without armor.
Yeah.
But there are ways to use a longsword to be a can opener, right? We have what in the German books is called a Mordschlag, or a murder strike, where you flip it over, hold the blade, and use the cross as a hammer, and you can just brain people with that.
Yeah.
That will, with a like the heavy, like small pressure, puncture through helmets.
Yeah.
We know this to be true, right? We have versions of this that
Fantasy
are written
books
down.
don't have nearly enough pommeling.
Pummeling's hilarious. We'll get into that. There's one. My biggest thing is up close fighting in books is wrong.
Yeah.
On every level, most of the time. But we can half sword. We can hold it down like a spear and try to get it inside of arms and through the necks pieces, even through two big holes in visors.
Yeah. But obviously they never wear helmets in fantasy books.
In books they do. In movies they don't, because then you can't see the actor. And if you're paying a guy millions and millions of dollars to be an actor, you're not going to cover his face up in a helmet.
I mean, I feel like half the books are they're like, and my hair is blowing in the wind as I sword I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. But then they're not in armor. At the same time, if you've ever watched Jeff fence, his fencing helmet goes all the way down, and he just has flowing locks out the back.
Yeah,
I don't know
true.
if people have seen Star Trek, it's Worf. Jeff has Worf hair. He has like long, like black flowing locks, and like he will do the like rip off the helmet and shake it out thing, to the chagrin of so many women who are like, why after sweating for 3 hours does your hair look that good? But it's true. His hair looks amazing, and honestly, I have curly hair, and after I fence, it's like at its curliest. It looks best. It's hilarious. I can't.
It's a little like
it's weird. I can't make it do that on its own. But 3 hours of fencing into a mask.
Now you know how to get ready for your parties.
Be disgusting. But yeah, so even weapons that are not designed to go through armor can fight against armor. As long as you keep in mind that there is a person who is basically a medieval tank who can backhand you and kill you. Right? I think that's my biggest beef. Armor is not slow.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those... There was a Tumblr meme years ago going... Just like someone's going, can you imagine someone doing the cha-cha slide in armor? Going, slide to the right. And the reality is, I have a buddy who did that. When he finished his armor and it was ready to fence in, he actually did film himself doing the cha-cha slide. Right. And then a couple other people would, like, add on to it. And so, like, there's this video of a bunch of dudes in armor cha-cha sliding in their kitchens.
Yeah. I mean, if the armor doesn't fit you, maybe.
If the armor doesn't fit you well, or the armor's designed poorly, or there's a bunch of reasons why you can't move in your armor, but well-designed, good armor allows you to do gymnastics.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've seen people do somersaults and cartwheels and stuff in armor. You just have to be strong enough to do it with 50 pounds of metal on you.
Right. Like, I feel like that's the big limiting force is the weight, but if you are someone who fights in armor, you train for that, and like, sure, maybe you'll retire slightly earlier because of your joints, as many people,
joints anymore,
heavy fighters in the SCA tend to do. By the time they're in their 50s, they're like, well, my joints can't do it anymore.
But SCA people also just have large pieces of bamboo that are weighted that they're beating each other with.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
One movie that I think showed it well was a movie called The Last Duel.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, Damon and Ben Affleck. It's not a fun movie to watch. It's about the rape of a woman, and they go through it 3 times with the perspective of the woman, the guy who did it, and her partner.
Lovely.
It's awful to watch on some level. But the armor duels are pretty legit. At one point, they're doing great swords and armor, which was a thing. A great sword won't beat armor by definition. Like, you can't, like I said, you can't cut through it, or you can't do that much like bludgeoning damage with it. On the same time, if you're wearing a helmet and someone beats you with a 5-pound bar steel, it's going to ring your bell.
Yeah.
But they wore stuff under it to prevent that on some level. But what he does is he gets in close, puts it behind the other guy's calf, and slices the guy through the calf, because most armor isn't fully encapsulating around the back of the leg.
Right.
Or if it's encapsulating around the calf, it's not at the knee.
Yeah, the back of the knee.
So the back of the knee is a place you could do that. And that's what some of those
little
solens that
and they have those here
like
too.
half circles that go across a joint like that.
Yeah.
They exist to
the little
help prevent
elbow
some
seashells.
of that. Yes, and you have the seashells on your legs as well on the outsides, so that people can't slide a sword behind it and pull, or wrap around with their cut. So yeah, these are all things that they're aware of. But a lot of tournament armor doesn't cover your butt. Mm-hmm. So your back half is usually a bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
But we know from SCA people that visors are dangerous too, because you not have a lot of vision inside a good helmet. But like, if you have a big enough eye so that you can see well, you will get stabbed in the eye, whether they mean to or not. There's a reason the SCA requires perforated plate behind a big visor, because they don't want you to get stabbed in the eye. Even daggers designed to fight against armor are not designed to puncture armor. They're designed to puncture chainmail. So like old bullock daggers or rondel daggers or whatever, they're meant to go through chainmail. We also have this idea that they don't cut. It's a modern Hema-ism. They don't cut that well, particularly against something with multiple layers of linen. So when we fence with them, we don't count the cuts if they're incidental, because they will incidentally cut you.
Right.
It's not like you're going in with like a machete and someone has bare arms.
Right.
So there's some level of protection in the cloth that you would wear.
Yeah.
But like, those daggers are meant for like prying into things and getting into the less protected armpits and stuff. So you see some modern for the contemporary time, so like mid 16th century kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
That is fully encapsulating. They have like fully articulated arms that fully wrap around the whole arm and forearm, and it's like the only place that's available is like the front of the hand, like the palm of the hand. So yeah, weapon choice should also match what you're fighting against. One of the most infuriating scenes in Game of Thrones for me is when Arya and Brienne of Tarth are like sparring each other, and one is in armor with a long sword and is 6.5 feet tall, and one is like 5'3" with a small sword, and like rakes it across the front of the chest plate and stuff, and you're like, what are you doing? You're being obnoxious. Like, I get that part of this is you're being obnoxious,
right?
But also you're fencing someone with a long sword and you keep pointing it at their throat. It's only because they're not wearing a helmet, because they're dumb,
right?
Whereas the person with the long sword also kept overcutting. Bran just kept cutting past the center line all the way and hitting the ground.
Right, to give the openings and make it look...
like, yeah. And it wasn't in a way that was useful.
Yeah.
We have something in fencing called a buried provocation. A provocation is an action that draws something out. And if you do that in a way that makes it look like you fucked up and they're taking advantage of it, that's a buried provocation. And you can do it. You can intentionally overcut in order to get them to come.
Right.
But, like, that's not what was happening.
No. No.
As much as we would want to explain that away.
Yeah. Well, it's also as a side pet peeve of mine, of putting someone with knives in a sword fight, or like anyone with like significantly less reach. Like, I can see scenarios, but they'll do it like, oh, they're equally matched, and it's like,
with a skill set that's meant for it more than one might imagine.
Right.
I have done longsword versus dagger.
Okay.
And I have lost, and I have won.
Okay.
And it really boils down to whether or not they have the idiocy / bravery / chutzpah to close and close fast.
Right. Because, like, if you don't get past the reach immediately, like...
Yeah, if you get inside the reach of their blade, then their blade becomes a little less useful.
Mm.
Which neatly transitions into me being frustrated about close-up fighting in books.
Alright, let's hear it.
Just because the front tip of your blade and the part you normally cut with the most is no longer in play does not mean your sword is useless.
Mm.
As you touched on earlier, you can still beat the shit out of someone with a pommel.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we have seen that break fencing masks.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if that hits skull instead, that's at the very least going to ring your bell and concuss you, probably.
Right.
Or knock some teeth out.
Right. Because
break your nose.
It's not allowed. It's not allowed. Normally, it's not allowed.
It depends on the tournament, but most of the time in modern HEMA, you're not allowed to actually land the pommel anymore because it's dangerous.
It's not allowed in SCA for that reason, with the masks. Even, like, anything with the crossguard, anything with the pommel isn't allowed, because even with the fencing masks.
Mm-hmm. And then even one of the other reasons is that people weren't seeing it properly. So you have people like Jess who fought people my size where there's over a foot difference, and she would come in, protect high, and then pommel upwards. So like most of the people see big people like me just bashing down. But when you have a smaller fencer, they can protect their heads from like a big overhead strike and then close, and I've been pommeled in the chin. Or in the sternum. Mm-hmm. And anyone who's been hit in the sternum knows that is a deeply unpleasant feeling. And if you were hit with something made of steel directly in the sternum without pads on, like that wakes people up out of like unconsciousness if you rub your... Right? You know, doctors do that to like wake people up, to rub knuckles across the sternum because it's that painful that it snaps people awake.
Yeah.
So yeah, now imagine taking a 4-pound ball of steel to the chest.
Lovely.
Crossguards are weapons. Mm-hmm. We talked about it in terms of the like using it like a warhammer, but Parnfeint suggests 1516 German, not part of the KDF tradition, which is what a lot of us fence, but sort of outside of that if someone keeps just hacking down on you, you parry once, you staff block them, so you put the flat of the sword in your hand and wrap your fingers around it so the edges aren't touching you, and then you staff block, and then you just run the crossguard into their face, and he suggests going for the eyes, the mouth, and the throat. Half swording allows you to bring your sword so that the distance of the sword is maybe 1.5 feet in front of you at most. So you're fencing from here like it's a tiny spear. You can wrestle while sword fighting.
Yeah.
Fiore has a play where it's like, and if he tries to reach over you and he comes too close, this is Sparta him in the junk. Just like straight leg kick directly to the groin.
Yeah.
Why not? Right? Kicks to the knees are a thing in a lot of fencing manuals that are for like actual fighting rather than for
things where you're not supposed to permanently injure someone.
Yeah. Gladiatoria has one where I think it's Gladiatoria, where like they suggest you shove your point in between the layers of the sabaton, like of the foot, and just drive your full body weight into their foot, and you like metal sabatons, like foot covers, don't have a bottom.
Okay.
So you're wearing shoes underneath it?
Yeah.
So it's just leather. So if you can get it between the plates, you can just ram it through their foot and puncture their foot fully into the ground. And that is not hard.
Right.
My greatsword instructor almost cut his own foot off in a cutting competition. He cut the top of his shoe off because he got too close to his foot with the edge. So he cut from below and just sliced across his foot.
Yeah.
We have points where if we both come in high, we have the cross where they punch the sword with the cross, so it just goes flying off, and then I can beat you in the face. Right? So there's all kinds of stuff that you can do up close. We have basically early judo in the German manuals where you get up close and then you short hit people as you step behind them.
Right.
And they have counters to that where as you see them doing it, you stick your leg out and you just knee them in the guts as they try to run past.
Yeah. Like it's a full body
It is a full contact sport.
Yeah.
You'll hear people say that the foundation of sword fighting is wrestling. For longsword in particular, where it's a deep low stance where you can't get knocked over because you are allowed to just run each other down.
Yeah.
There's so many... Every part of your sword is functionally a weapon. In Longsword, it's clear you have a big fat pommel, you have crosses. In saber fencing, you're not allowed to in terms, but you can bell punch somebody.
Yeah.
You have a big sheet of metal in front of your fist. There's nothing stopping you from hitting someone with it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the problem is that for your everyday person, right, who's trying to understand how these fights work, if you go and you look for any sort of reenactment videos or videos from movies or literally anything, like, you're not going to ever see, probably on footage or, like, you know, two people that actually want to kill or permanently maim each other. They can fake it in movies a lot, but normally they don't try to show it like that. Like, they'll choreograph it in ways where they can do it and fake it without actually, like, you're not going to see someone going in and just, like, knocking their knee through backwards. Like,
no. And the reality is, even in things like modern MMA, where you could probably do some of that, they don't, because the purpose isn't to put someone out of the sport.
Right.
Yes, there's someday I want to teach a tournament called Don't Try This. Teach a workshop called Don't Try This at Home,
right?
Where we teach people all the things that would get you kicked out of a tournament.
Oh my gosh, I would
just
because
they'd be fun things, and I think for writers in particular, that could be entertaining.
I would be so into that. We could do a video.
Crispin says if you get your sword taken off of you in a fight, most people default to bring the sword high, cut down on someone, because you can't block it anymore. You can put your arm in there, but you're going to get cut down to the bone. Through the bone if you're unlucky.
Yeah.
So he suggests, as they raise their sword, to duck down, rush in, and throw your forearm through the elbow when they're coming down to cut, and snap their arm and break it. And then he suggests you choke slam them into the floor, and then just do whatever you please.
Oh my god.
Right? So, like, we have disarms that happen when people are sword fighting. I have disarmed someone with the sword.
Yeah.
Right? There's some very Rob Roy, like, movie stuff where you, like, whip people's sword around. But you can do that in real life. Those disarms with a blade are completely real. Those big circle parades that throw people's swords, completely real. But my old instructor, he had, like, two modes. He had, like, a bouncy, happy mode where he was just playing, and then you would do something to bother him, or he felt like he had to ramp it up, and he'd, like, go into hydraulics. His whole body would shift down, and the bounce would disappear out of his movement, and then you know you were screwed. And what he always did to me is that he'd let me cut, he'd close, he'd push me up, and then he'd wrap an arm around my arm and take the sword out of my hands. And I was just like, it's really embarrassing, because he's, like, 200 pounds lighter and, like, 7 or 8 inches shorter, and he would just walk in and just my sword would be out of my hands.
Yeah. Like, bad. Mine.
Yep. He's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, sir. My bad.
That's great.
Yeah, it's deeply annoying. It's funny to me because now as an instructor, I get to do that on occasion. Just be like, you wouldn't do that most of the time. I'm being friendly. If you do it again, I'll show you the consequences kind of thing. And I have done that. People have closed and I've just grabbed their hilt, like left one hand off mine because we're bound up here and just pulled the sword out of their hands. That is one of the mean benefits of being a big guy.
Yeah.
Or I'll just grab their swords and push it behind their head.
Yeah.
And what that means is either they let go or they fall.
Either works.
Or they're my old instructor who was hyper flexible and he could hit me from behind his own back. Winded me once, hit me right in the solar plexus, couldn't breathe from behind himself. He shot the sword under his arm and hit me.
Yeah, yeah.
That was rude. And it's also, you have to be a freak of nature. But that's one of those other things where, like, your body type does make a difference. I can't do that. I ain't that kind of flexible.
Yeah.
I'm too broad for that.
Yeah. And I feel like that in the bind that, like, obviously in sword fighting there's going to be big advantages and disadvantages and impacts on size and stuff and how you use it. But, like, the second you get in the bind and you are in that more wrestling, I imagine it's even a bigger, like, not a bigger difference, but, like, it's a lot more significant.
It is. I think the reality is that if you are a big person, you can unskilledly wrestle.
Yeah.
I have. I was fighting someone who is better than me and who wrestles at the sword a lot. Doesn't change the fact that I had a 200-pound weight advantage.
Right.
So he came in and they tried to wrestle me, and I literally just put my hand behind their head and just swung them across the floor, and they went flying. Right? And they were like, yeah, we're not closing with you again until you have enough skills to not hurt me. I was like, that's a point. But then I fought Izzy, and we had a beautiful exchange. And we both went in, we cut a couple cuts, we both in, and we both did high. I threw my arm through theirs to bring it down, and I was going to pommel them in the face. They stepped, dropped a hand, pushed my arm up above me, threw it around my neck, took a step behind me, and then were going to throw me. Yeah. Perfect short hip setup. From the book, just beautiful. And then I just stiffened and dropped a little bit, and they couldn't move me.
Right, right.
And then I, without thinking, grabbed them by the arm and just did that, and their feet came up. I was like, nah, that was a mistake. But Izzy's very, very good at what she does, so she just, like, jumped as soon as she felt her body getting lifted, so she jumped into it, did the flip, hit the ground in a roll, and stood up in front of me.
That's epic.
Chef's kiss.
Epic.
I also have the ability to, as a big person, to whack people's swords out of their hands.
Yeah.
Especially something like small sword, where it's funny.
Yeah.
Where everyone's trying to be all skillful and whatever, and I just go, and the sword hits the ground. Which is, again, a stylistic difference.
Oh, sorry.
Like I mentioned, there's some sort of like hemisms about French fencers not being allowed to step backwards because it's dishonorable in a fight or whatever. But also, you have German manuals where it's like, hey, so this next section, a lot of you are going to duel with these swords because that is a thing you all do,
right?
Whether we like it or not. And some of you will do this as a battlefield weapon, and that is about small swords, which is sort of commonly considered like a court weapon. It's nonsense. You use whatever sword you had when you fought on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And he says, some of you might do this. I'm going to teach you this entire section about whacking people's swords out of their hand like a jerk, because it's a useful skill if it's about life and death.
Yeah.
It's dishonorable. It's not kind fighting, but some of you are fighting to the death outside for real life without anyone who's going to give quarter. And so there's a whole section on just how to best whack people's swords out of their hands and how to set that up.
That's great.
So, yeah. I don't know where we were with all of this. Fighting in armor.
Yeah.
Okay. You can, if you're covered in metal, you don't have to parry things.
Yeah.
If they're just going to hit you in the shoulder, what do you care?
That's fair.
Right? Okay. So it allows you to negate a lot of fighting style of just like, hit me then, okay.
Right, like, if you are hitting someone, there is an opening.
Right, so why are you hitting me in a way that doesn't affect my ability to keep moving?
And why would you even try to parry that if you don't need to?
No, you just walk into it.
Yeah.
You know what they tell you to do when dogs jump up on you? You just walk into them.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, if they jump, you don't want to like push them or whatever. You just walk into them and they lose their balance and they have to go back down. Okay. You can do the same thing to people fighting you when you're in armor. You just walk into them. We have some stories and histories, and one of them was this knight who found himself behind enemy lines, way outside of the battle where he was supposed to be, kind of just wandered off a little bit fighting, and finds himself in a small village in foreign territory, in enemy territory, and then walks into the tavern and is like, y'all, I just want to eat and have a drink and maybe nap for a minute. Can we be civil about this? And the villagers like gathered pitchforks and stuff and attacked him, and he killed everyone.
Oh my God.
He wiped out a small village because they didn't know how to fight a dude in armor. Fighting against armor is also a separate skill.
Yeah.
Right? And so he just wiped out a small village because they wouldn't let him, like, nap. Right? Like, because if you're in armor, you're a tank. What are a bunch of dudes with swords going to do?
Yeah. Like, and if you don't know how to...
Yeah. And so, right, at some point... And fighting... Which also brings to the point that fighting against a group is a different skill than fighting an individual.
Right, right.
There's also separate skills.
Yeah. And different weapon advantages and...
At that point, a longer weapon does make a difference.
Cleared more space.
So, at that point, you have to move away from swords. Right? So now we're talking about pole arms. And some pole arms, again, meant against armor, and some are meant against unarmored individuals. Spears can work against armor. They work very well against no armor. And they require a lot less skill.
Yeah.
You can do very skilled, very fancy fighting with a spear. It's just not always necessary. You have edged polearms, like the glaives that are just a big freaking sword on a stick.
Yeah.
Again, great for attacking peasants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so great against a guy in armor.
Right.
Unless it has like and they're also good against people on horseback, right? Because the problem with fighting against horses is that they'll run you down. But if you can step off a little way and still hit the guy at the top while not being in range with the sword, great.
Yeah.
We also have like, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have in one of the books I'm writing right now, the main weapon that they use is like sort of like a polearm, but it has like the sword on the end, so it's like sort of like maybe like this long of a blade on a long pole, and they use that because they fight like essentially. The real world equivalent I used was like lions or like large wolves, but it's like a monstrous fantasy creature. But it's like if you're going against something like that, like
think boar spear.
Yeah.
Right, they had really heavy blades. They also had the cross, so that if you got stuck, they couldn't run up the blade.
Yeah.
My favorite boar spear, which is part of one of my favorite ridiculous, I don't know if they were ever actually used weapons you find in museums, are bladed weapons with guns attached to them.
Which is great.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but there's a boar spear in Paris that is a triple-bladed rotational blade. Right, so it's 3 blades that are curved. So if you puncture straight, it'll like auger in almost.
Right.
And then it between the blades has 2 guns that have a trigger at the back. So you just stick them.
So you stab them.
It's just double barrel blow through something. It's utterly ridiculous, but it's so much fun. And it's in the Musée des Invalides d'Armée, the Army Museum in Paris.
Okay.
It's hilarious, and I love it so much.
That sounds great.
But then we also have bludgeoning polearms.
Right.
Not just warhammers, but like you have poleaxes that are meant to fight against armor. So they have an edged bit that you can use. They have a back like hammer that you can use. They have a butt, which sometimes is just a cap and sometimes is a spike. They have a spear at the top. And like those are meant to murder people in armor.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you hit someone hard enough, you can collapse parts of their armor.
Yeah.
Even more so if it's older armor or armor that's in disrepair or armor that's been reshaped over and over and over again. I think it's Federico de' Medici or Giorgio de' Medici, one of the early Medicis, has his combat armor that he was buried in with all of his weapons at the Stivirt Museum in Florence.
That's cool.
On loan from the city of Florence. It is beat to hell.
Yeah.
It is clearly used.
Yeah.
It is not fancy. It has not got engravings. It doesn't have anything pretty. It's just sheets of thick metal that have clearly had the crap beat out of them more than once. And so you can really see a difference between that and in the same room all these suits of parade armor, which are beautiful and stunning and spotless.
Right.
Especially the Lombardy armor that has like the gold painting on it and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you can see that armor sometimes can be damaged pretty severely in these things. And we use armor, at least cuirasses, well up into the 1700s. Which is why there's also another great piece at the museum, which is a breastplate with a cannonball hole in it. Like that big around, just where you can see the armor has collapsed inwards, and like you can see the back end of it sticking out the other side. It's a great little piece they have in there. Because we've had guns, it's like at least the 1400s.
Yeah. Like
they weren't good guns, but like, even the Landsknechts had arquebusier units that stood on hilltop and just blasted through pike squares.
Right.
Because you didn't have to aim well. You just had to shoot it into the big mass of people and call it a day.
Yeah.
Also a big trope is bows that can shoot through armor.
Yeah.
And like, on some level there is chainmail piercing done with bows. I don't even know if like good armor from, even if it was hit with something like a 160-pound warbow with a point that's meant for puncturing, would really do that much.
Yeah, I feel like you would need like something that can get more power than a bow. Like,
yeah, but we've also seen explosive charges on arrows and stuff, so like maybe they just need to stick in and then blow up.
Yeah.
There's a 1640s German artillery and incendiary device manual that I got my hands on that I'm translating and working on a little bit. And like it has like explosive charges attached to arrows and other weird nonsense. Like, I don't know how much of that is real or useful or whatever, but it's in there.
Yeah.
And it is a military manual. It's not meant to be like a joke or anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's another thing with armor. It's just hard to get into.
So then, question with that, right? Because, like, obviously, if people wear a certain type of armor, for the most part, if you have a choice, you're going to choose weapons that, you know, are more adapted to that, right? So, what about when we get into things like climate, and we get into places that are really hot versus very cold, and how that impacts armor, and then how that impacts weapons?
Yeah, that is a fascinating question. That's not something I've ever looked into per se, but you do see like a lot of Turkic armor and armor from around like the Indian subcontinent through into Persia and Arabia that leans away from entire plate coverage.
Right. Which like makes sense because like if the heat is going to kill you in your armor...
Yeah, you're just going to cook.
Right.
You often see like circular chest plate with chainmail to the next bit, with chainmail to the next bit. So, like, vital organs are covered, kind of, but, like...
More breathable, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more breathable. Cloth armor does a lot against puncture. Just because it dissipates everything. It's kind of like Kevlar in that sense.
Yeah.
That, like, high impact gets dissipated. But bludgeoning still sucks. So yeah, that's a thing, but I don't think their weapons are that different.
Okay.
You do see... I don't know how much of this is a resource versus a heat question. You see, like, Turkic horse armor that is little pieces that are connected rather than sheets.
Right.
Sort of like a brigandine or
like
jack
the
of
Lamoir?
plates. No, it's more like jack of plates, but for horses.
Okay. Oh, for the... Okay.
So it's like lots of little pieces of metal that are connected with a single, like, link or whatever. And so it's like you could, like, wave it like a blanket.
Okay.
But like a 50-pound metal blanket. Yeah, another thing about a lot of armor is that a lot of them have ways to open up the face piece so that you can breathe and take a break. So, like, my armor is modeled after a couple different suits, including Henry VIII's Fat Man armor in the Met. And the armlet that I have, or the closed helm that I have, opens just the eye slit, so you can just pull the piece up like here. It has a piece that opens the face, and then has a piece that opens the whole helmet, so I can get out of it. So, like, they also did have ways of managing this. And
right,
again,
they would have just been marching endlessly with it all fully...
And also, if you were rich enough for armor, you were probably on horseback.
Yeah.
Until the fight.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was something. Yeah, I would imagine it's probably relatively reasonable to assume that places that had much more of a heat issue had less of a plate armor thing. Or had variations on it.
Right.
But then you look in places like Japan, where the steel was very limited, and they did not have the greatest metallurgy. And so, like, they just avoided plate.
Yeah.
In that sense. They went for hardened leathers and things like that. Although not in the sense that you see in fantasy books.
No.
Let's get angry about that for a second.
That's why I made, like, the hardens for my experiment, right? I actually got the lamellar pieces, and I'm attaching them, but I also got a piece of BS fantasy plate leather so that I could just show the difference of, like, look how useless this is. And this is what they actually were.
It doesn't move.
No.
It doesn't breathe. It molds. Like, if you're sweating into that all day, you're just going to have moldy leather.
And it's not even that protective compared to, like, a plate or, like the lamellar or something like that.
I use a leather wrist protection so that I have my fencing glove on, and then I have a piece of hardened leather that sits here and across the wrist that I can hold on to. Like, we call it a demi-gauntlet. And I've had it folded in half by a saber. Right? It is boiled in beeswax. Right? So it's like cooked in beeswax. It is quite hard. It is somewhat flexible, but I got hit hard enough by a saber right here that it folded up. Right? So that's when Stuart started to put reinforcing bands on it, because mine... The pattern for his, I'm at 140% of the pattern because I have big hands. Yeah. So, like, it also has some weak points. But, yeah, no, I think the boiled leather thing, there is cribouille. It is a thing. We did have it, but it was mainly not meant for things that were supposed to move. You see it for, like, caps and stuff, and it's still better than nothing. Right. But if someone hits you in the head with a sword, the boiled leather is not going to prevent it from killing you.
But obviously it can be totally sexy because it, like, shows all the...
Yeah, when people hear leather armor, or, like, the big one is all the dragon stuff right now, having flying leathers, no. Yeah. It's not like a pleather, like, this isn't Sandra Dee. We're not wearing, like, pleather pants from Greece.
Yeah, and it's like, first off, if you're on a dragon, like, what are you defending against other than, like, just being thrown off the dragon or getting shot by arrows? But, like, what is that gonna do for you?
I mean, with arrows, like, it'll remove a glancing blow, right?
Okay, sure. But, like...
Like, so a piece of plastic. Yeah. But, like, hardened armor doesn't move. Like, hardened leather armor doesn't move. So the last thing you'd want is to be coated in it in a way that doesn't move.
Right, especially when you have to, like...
Especially if you're trying to fly something. But even if we look at plate armor, it's very heavily articulated, especially around the joints. We also have the protection on the outside, not the inside of legs for knights, because you don't want that, like, crushing a horse's flank. Yeah. With a lot of rounded edges so that, you know, your horse is okay. But yeah, no, flying leather's is nonsense and sad. It bothers me. There's so much cool leather armor out there. Yeah. There's no need to pretend everyone's out there in a pleather suit just because it's sexy. Yeah. I don't know. I'm that kind of weirdo who thinks a good suit of plate is sexy, but that's just because I'm a little broken like that, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, like, and like the reason that like motorcyclists wear that, right? Like, because they'll wear leather, right? But it's not supposed to stop anything. Impact. It's so that when you're thrown across the pavement, which I have been in a motorcycle accident, And I really wish I was wearing a lot more leather. I had a leather jacket, but just jeans on.
Yeah, road rashes.
And that tears
unpleasant.
right through that,
Yes.
right? But like if you're landing on the ground or trying to stop an arrow, that's not really what you're going for. If you're a dragon rider, you're not going to skidding on pavement is not the problem. If you hit the pavement, you're dead because you fell from way up there.
It's just for people who can't take off properly.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just roll off the back.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I don't understand it. It bothers me.
Okay, so what? Okay, Christian, you're designing
Eh?
a dragon rider's armor. What are they wearing?
So let's be honest about two things.
Okay.
One, if I am at the point where I can ride a dragon, much like armor for tournament rich people, it has to be extra.
Yes.
Fully functional,
Yeah.
pragmatic, but extra as hell.
Yeah. Because, like, you are, like, even not even just a fighting force, you are the threat. Like,
Right.
you are a symbol.
Okay. I would want a clear visor.
Okay. For both.
I don't know if anyone's ever been on a bicycle with just a helmet on and gone downhilling in a woods in spring when all the bugs are out. But, like, you're just taking bugs to the face.
Yeah.
And now you're doing
so
it at the
nasty.
speed that, like, a dragon is flying, supposedly.
Yeah. And sure, there's less bugs way up that high, but, like, there's still...
But not as little as one would expect.
Yeah.
Mild tangent.
Okay.
There was a big colony of bats that they were trying to track, and they would, in the middle of the night, they'd fly straight up and they'd disappear, and no one knew what they were doing.
Uh-huh.
Until they put trackers on them and started following them with sonar and whatever, and they found that there is a layer of bugs high enough up that they disappear from view and they just eat and they come back. So we know from
that's actually
bat
relevant.
eating.
I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down because that's actually relevant for something I'm doing.
I don't know what the heights are, but I can certainly look it up.
Bug
but like
heights.
we know that bats do this. Mm-hmm. Right? So like presumably, unless we're in the cloud layer, there are bugs. Mm-hmm. And if I'm flying a dragon full speed, I do not want to get choked out and die because I ate a fly.
Right. Especially if you're going, because traveling, you'd be higher up if you're traveling, but then maybe you don't need the same armor. But if you were going into war on a dragon, you're not up in the clouds.
If I'm high enough up, if the bugs are no longer a problem, I can't breathe anymore.
That's a fair point, yeah.
I would imagine. I don't have math on that, but like,
there's
an oxygen issue.
Yeah.
Right? If I can fly above mountaintops, like people who walk up Mount Everest need oxygen most of the time. Like only the really, really hardcore people go without oxygen, and a lot of them die.
Right.
So I imagine if I'm holding on to a dragon,
right.
I've ridden horses, that is not easy on the body. I do not imagine riding a dragon is any easier.
Especially because it'd be a quick ascent, depending on what you're doing.
If you're unlucky, you'd get the bends.
Yeah. Because, like, I've gone hiking at altitude, and, like, even at as fast as you can hike, like, walking up an incline, like, you still have to take breaks sometimes just to acclimate. And sometimes take hours or overnight breaks.
So, if we're going to assume for a moment that I can breathe.
Okay, so you can breathe. Great.
I'd want a closed helmet that has something that allows me to see out the front. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So, whether that's, like, in a modern setting, and it's, like, a carbon fiber or a perspex or something that is, like, bulletproof glass kind of deal, or if it's in a not setting like that, then I would at least want like some sort of cloth that is transparent, but I won't eat bugs.
Okay, so we're avoiding the bug eating.
We want flexible.
Yeah.
You have to be able to move well in it. And so I would be more inclined to do really thick wool or like really, really thick cloth with individual pieces of metal pointed on.
Okay.
So like by pointing, what I mean is that we have spots where you can tie it on.
Yeah.
Right? So if you wear arming gear, you tie your legs onto your gear. Right?
Yep.
Because also, it's cold as hell.
Yeah. It would be especially moving that fast. Like, even on a hot day, you get on a motorcycle, you can be real chilly really fast, even in full
which is
leather.
why people wear the full coverage.
Yeah. Unless they're squids, and they're called that because when they hit the ground.
Yeah. So, like, I would want really, really thick gear, and I'd want it to be layered.
Okay.
Right? So I want many, many layers.
Yeah.
And then pointed hard protection at vital spots.
Yeah. Especially ones that are going to be more exposed, like...
Or even something like brigandine, which is like coat of plates, would I think be better.
Yeah.
And I'd want something that isn't tight fitting around here.
Yeah, because
I'd
you
want
have
it to
to
be
really,
this
you
so that
can't
I
really
can
have
move
much
around
here.
my waist, right? It'd have to flare.
Yeah.
Pretty heavily, like a riding coat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, think riding
Armored
coat.
cape.
I'm
joking. But
armored cape would be funny until it chokes you out because it's flipper and
then
no
you
capes.
go up.
No capes.
Yeah.
I would want a cloak. Something
Okay.
that's fastenable all the way, like up and down, but like still can leave open. You know those jackets where they zip up and down, and like you can
like
open
that
up a little
sorta.
bit, like something that you can fasten in a way that if you were to wear it on the ground, you could like close it all the way. But if you're riding, you could open it enough up that it could flare out.
Yeah,
But it's still pointed. That could also still be pointed to the legs, so that it wouldn't flap.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that. Can you imagine? Fly Go to Dragon Dolls, you hear that like.
Yeah, it's horrible. It'd be so obnoxious, and you'd end up with bruised legs. Especially if you're wearing like a jacket of plates.
Yeah.
Just flapping against your legs, you walk back down, you can't feel your knees anymore.
Because you also need to be able to get on the dragon, and like, sure, you could have mounting things, but like, you have to be prepared to land anywhere and get on and off anywhere for any reason.
But we know for a fact that knights manage that in armor.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah,
right? So like knights manage that in plate, and getting off a horse is probably easier
than
a dragon, depending on which type of dragon. Like whether we're talking airplane dragon, mountain dragon, or like personal small flyer.
Yeah.
But like either way, I don't think the mountain dismount's that much of an issue. Especially if they do it like you see in movies where like a horse will like take a knee and allow someone to hop off. I imagine a slightly more sentient dragon type thing would be able to like here lift your leg, come down and like slowly
give him a little like
something.
a nice little slide down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with mostly wool, pointed heavy bits, or maybe a jacket of plates to go with it.
Fair. I would add not necessarily part of the armor, but like if you're talking about riding dragons at high speeds and maneuverability, you're gonna need some sort of saddle. So that itself could be armored in a way to help add protection to like, so that you're sitting
you could have
position.
armor that you can slip into your legs into.
Yeah, so that you don't have to
that's
necessarily
like slightly encasing.
Yeah.
No, that would make sense.
That'd be good.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, we figured it out.
Yeah, it's like a saddle that also has like saddlebags, but for your legs.
Yeah.
That makes sense
pockets.
though, like leg pockets.
Yeah.
So you stick your legs in, and which also would make it easier to not go flying off. Especially
you probably want to be
yourself.
belted in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and whether you're belted in, like, you don't really like.
And you want a low-seated belt, so you can still move your upper body as needed.
And
like when Noah used to fight with us. Noah's in a wheelchair. He's a Paralympian. He's very good at what he does. But we gave him his first sword, and we claim him. Claim all of his success as our own.
Of course.
Doesn't matter that we didn't train him for it. Doesn't matter. It's our success. He used to fight with a belt because he's paralyzed in his entire core.
Right.
So if he swings too hard with his upper body, he just fell out of his chair. So he'd belt himself in. And I think that's something you need because he could swing and I'll go all the way forward and then come all the way back.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've armored our dragon riders.
Yeah. I also want barding for dragons.
Barding.
Like horse armor?
Yeah, like the... Yeah.
And I'd want it to match.
Ooh, coordinated.
Well, there's again, the Army Museum in Paris is dope. If you ever have the chance to go, it's one of the greatest things I've ever been to in terms of an arms and armor museum. It's my favorite. I haven't been to the armor in London and I haven't been in Vienna. Those are like the top two, I'm told. And Dresden is one of my favorite for like non-functional stuff. It's mostly like parade armor. But the Army Museum in Paris is wonderful. And there's a suit in there by a guy who is bigger than I am. I can show you the pictures later. It's hilarious. Most times when you see Maximilian style armor, like the chest pieces are like maybe an inch apart, and then you get his and it's there.
Okay.
The guy's just this wide.
Yeah.
He squandered his entire family money on campaigns because he thought it was more fun than being like a ruler.
I mean, fair.
But there's a suit of garniture that he has, which is just all black with rolled edges that are all gilded.
Oh.
And his horse armor is all black. And his rolled edges that are all gilded, and then with these like gold like mermaid things on the front and on the sides, like as sigils. It's just so dope. Like he's wider than the horse. Like he's a big man, but his armor it makes him even bigger.
Yeah.
But it's directly matching in colors and shape and like the patterning of how like where it's colored and how it's shaped and whatever. It all matches the horse armor, and it looks so good.
Yeah, that's...
I can send you pictures when I was there. It was so cool.
It sounds pretty epic. Yeah, so it would have to match. Have to be dope. Because, like, obviously if you're riding a dragon...
You have money. right?
Yeah, you better be.
What are you doing?
Like, use your dragon to go rob a bank. Like, come on.
Have I ever told you the play in Wallerstein about how to best rob a peasant?
No.
It's with Messer, so like the big war knives. And it says to like grab a peasant and like pin him to the wall by their neck and then pinch the skin of their throat.
Okay.
So that you can cut them. But it doesn't do anything, it just makes them bleed because you've just got like fat water.
Right, like just do this and then...
Yeah, and just pull it forward and then just start cutting them so they bleed and then they panic and they give you your money. It's in one of the manuals. It's funny as hell. It was formerly called the Codex Wallerstein. It has a better name. It has like a proper name now, but like it's the former Codex Wallerstein.
Oh my god.
Hilarious. Yeah, go rob a peasant.
Yeah, yeah. Or a bank would be more effective.
Or if you're in a space where it's like the Tremere books, Naomi Novak's Napoleonic Wars with Dragons or whatever, like, and you're just some dude who happens to have a dragon now for whatever reason of coincidence, because that's the plot.
Yeah.
Like most Dragon Rider books are. They're gonna give you money.
Yeah, really. Like,
being a Dragon Rider's got to be paid.
Yeah.
I doubt that's vocational.
Yeah, yeah, and you gotta feed them. Now they can probably hunt for their own stuff, but they'd probably pay you not to let them eat all their cows. Because all those nice little penned cows and sheep probably look really easy and tasty. Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a plot point in dragon books.
Yeah.
Must go pay all the farmers for eating their flock.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we flew 30 dragons through here and ate 300 cows.
But you need to, like, that's one of the other things with, like, one of the books I'm planning to world build is going to have a really interesting geographic setup that I'm having a lot of problems with. I'm trying to reach out to some meteorologists to figure out how to actually, like, make it work. It's a thing. But I also want to have, like, a whole, like, ecosystem of, like, dragons and stuff.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, dragons have to eat. Which means they need, basically, like, large mammals are probably the most optimal thing, right? Because, like, they're not racing things through trees. So you want herd field animals are probably the ideal food, right? Your cows, your bison.
Yeah, buffalo
any
for
of
sure.
that sort of buffalo, anything like that. But, like, they're not going to be eating things in the woods. They're not going to be eating, like, rodents.
I always enjoyed the marine hunting dragons, like the dive bomb for sharks and stuff.
That would work, yeah. But there won't be oceans in my... I mean, for reasons.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is a problem. And I can't figure out how to feed them, because they're also, like, my land masses are mostly islands.
Buckets of fish.
There aren't fish.
Why are there no fish if there's water?
Okay, it's called Pillar World.
Uh-huh.
The magical aspect is if you imagine, like, tons of just, like, pieces of land that were shot up thousands of feet into the air.
Oh, okay.
And so the ground level isn't accessible or hospitable for some magical reason. I don't know. So, like, everything is these little, like, cliff-sided islands thousands of feet up in the air. So, like, dragons make sense from a, like, moving around. But, like, when you look at the types of things that are on islands, you don't see large mammals on islands, usually.
You go lithophilic. Rock eating. So some of the dragons that have to eat minerals to, like, do fire and stuff, like if they don't have, like, sulfur sources, they
so,
can
like,
use sulfur to start fires, and so you can make that, like...
That could be a...
Because we eat a lot of things that we don't need the calorie necessarily in order to get other micronutrients or whatever, and for them they could have macronutrients in the forms of minerals.
That could be good.
That can take up some of it, so they can just chew on rocks.
Okay, I'm gonna think about that, because they're not gonna have large field herd animals.
No.
They'll have lots of birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could
And,
also
like,
do
little
things like, with lizards that eat one big meal and then don't have to for an extended period of time.
But what is that big thing going to be? Unless they just eat each other. But
like,
there's not
like
many
alligators
things that do that. Yeah.
Big lizards do that. Big lizards have a tendency to grow until they run out of space for food. So they grow only to the size of the habitat that can maintain them. And B, they tend to eat the smaller versions of themselves just because there's no other predator for those things.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that would actually work. I'm taking notes!
It depends on the sentience of your dragons, right?
Yeah.
Depending on whether that is just eating or if that's cannibalism.
Right, right.
That's one of the reasons you never see that in a lot of dragon stuff, because the dragons are meant to be sentient.
Yeah, and then why would they eat? Unless, like, you could go that kind of sentience, but...
But also, like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
If that's what they have, if that's how they evolved, like...
Also, you could do the thing that like lions and stuff do, is that when a new male takes over pride, it murders all the children of a certain age and eats them because that's the only way to get the females ovulating again.
Mm-hmm.
So you could also have like that level of large, that you could prevent like too many big dragons by making them challenge each other and then eat each other's young when they take over, and like have that way of doing population control.
I like it. Things to think about. Things to think about. Good options. I like the rock eating thing too because it's weird. It could be worrisome if you live on a pillar 3,000 feet in the air.
That could be a problem
8,
with too many dragons, is that eventually they're going to knock the pillars over.
Yeah.
There you go. Have fun with that.
I like it. I'm gonna have fun with that. Okay.
Yeah, no, there's one, I forget what it was, where like they use something like sulfur in order to create fire. Because if you heat sulfur up enough in an oxygen-free environment, it creates blue fire. It's very pretty. Like if you just take pure sulfur and pop it in a crucible and close it, and you put too much in, the lid will pop off, and you'll see blue liquid fire roll down the edges.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I feel like one of the areas, this is such a complete tangent, but like with dragons, especially sentient dragons, is that like they tend to go either like, right, they're either like animal, like creature dragons, or you have the like ancient sentience, more intelligent than humans, right? But like they never do weird shit just because they can. You know what I mean? Like people do so much stupid stuff for so many weird reasons. Like
now I want copper-phaging dragons. Like cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Just eat shit.
Yeah, like just like weird stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, little internal recycling. Because there's not enough food.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And they'll take the rocks so they can break up things in their throats like some birds do.
Yeah. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Store them like nuts in their cheeks, all their extra rocks for later.
No, because some birds have like a gizzard that gets rock in it intentionally to break down things because it grinds them up in the gizzard. I don't know if you've ever butchered a chicken and taken its gizzard out.
I have
but
not.
If you cut open the gizzard, like it's like a pocket full of rocks. That's why gizzards are so tough, is because they hold rocks.
Oh. So maybe they do that and then they just store the stuff for the fire breathing, and then when they use it all, they get new rocks in there.
Or they can have a craw, like birds have a craw as well, where they just have a pocket in there, like here. You can tell some birds, like raptors, are well fed because their craw is big. The idea of something getting stuck in your craw, that comes from birds.
And they can like regurgitate it up a little bit and then swallow it when they need it.
Yeah, they just kind of hold on to it a little bit. I don't know the exact details on the anatomy and physiology there, but you can play with that.
Google it. I can Google it.
Google's free. Or you talk to the falconer at the club. We have a local falconer.
That would be fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So, was there any, getting back on
the sword thing?
The sword, as we talk about rocks and dragon throats.
I think one big thing to touch on briefly, I kind of talked it in the closed combat aspect, is that most armed combat systems have an unarmed combat system that goes with them.
Right, for if you're not necessarily prepared for... Because I think that's also a good point,
they bring
too,
in the foundational movements in that way.
Yeah.
So where we have someone, Damon Stith is one of the founders of the Historical African Martial Arts Association, or Alliance, or whatever they're called, and then he teaches capoeira, which is inherently unarmed, as the foundational movements for fighting various African martial arts. Like, with weapons, like Kopesh and Shotel.
Yeah.
So you come with that. So when you look at most of the jutsus, the various Japanese fighting arts, they start off often unarmed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then what I find interesting is that, for example, Tendo Ryo, which is a form of historical Japanese martial art that I train on occasion, it starts with polearms.
Okay.
Because that's easier. And then goes to swords. And then goes to daggers. And then goes to the weird.
The weird.
Yeah, like weird for like standard weapon type stuff. They do have a one where they have like the hook with the chain and the ball.
Okay, yeah.
And then they also have a section that comes second, or comes later from the big staff with a sword on it from a naginata to like a small staff, which some people say is to be, the intention is if your naginata breaks, you still need to be able to keep fighting. Like if you're fighting a bunch of people with swords, at some point maybe they'll damage your naginata at the top where the sword is enough that at the connection it breaks, and then you have a stick to be able to fight with the stick too. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, because for the most part, you'll be able to fight with everything you have in whatever scenario and way you need to. You'll be prepared for that. That makes sense.
But yeah, so unarmed systems with armed systems became less and less common the more and more we moved away from swords becoming like a secondary weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had your gun first, and you had your saber when you ran out. We stopped seeing as much close combat with unarmed at that point. But in a lot of the older systems, you have a wrestling ahead of time, or you have a lot of wrestling built in, or you have unarmed built in, all these things. So I think that's one thing that's important to remember, is that these things are not separate. They are usually companions.
One other trope I'm curious with your thoughts on. Sort of, not quite adjacent, but so one of the tropes I've seen in terms of general, like, talking about higher level fighting styles, right? Like, more general stuff. But, like, if you have people that aren't actually at war, right? So, like, during most of the living people's memories, they have not experienced war, right? So fighting becomes something a little different, right? The tropes of them against a people that are used to war. Is that as inherent of an advantage as it is typically portrayed? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
I figured it was, but I was curious if...
I think it's the difference between people who know katas and people who have fought.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those, it doesn't work on the streets kind of guys. You get in HEWA all the time. Your sword fighting doesn't work on the streets. It's also not what we're training for. But I think there's a reality between pressure testing with a friend and pressure testing with your life.
Right.
Right? And so I think even people who just go from drills to sparring, the amount of knowledge loss that appears as soon as a sword is coming at your head, like, and you have to defend yourself, like the amount of all the training you've had over the last like 6 months, it just goes and just disappears.
Right.
Right. And I think there is some reality to that. I think it's the same thing you see with people in the military or people who are in a position where they have to kill people, like cops, where when push comes to shove, your adrenaline is crazy. Your thinking becomes less clear. I think there is something to be said for being forced to pressure test in a situation where death is an outcome.
Yeah.
And not just for you. Killing other people is a thing that messes with people. It changes people. Yeah. Every person I've met in the military who has been in a situation where they have killed people says it dramatically affects them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not true for everybody. I have big feelings on people who could kill someone without it affecting them in any way, shape, or form. That would be worrying, I think.
Yeah.
But like all my friends in the military who have been in situations where death was an outcome, it's very different from training.
Right. Yeah. But you would imagine it to be.
You would hope.
Yeah. Yeah, for most people. Yeah.
Like, you would hope. Like, even I had trouble early on in fencing just hitting people hard enough to, like, make it matter.
Yeah.
Like, I was very timid, and it was very... Because I'm a big guy, I've hurt people by accident my whole life, just by being bigger than other people. So going to a setting where you're not giving me a sword to hit people with, like, it wasn't until my first rookie tournament when I came up a guy who was not that much smaller than me. Like, 3 inches shorter, like 50, 60 pounds lighter, but not a small dude. He clearly didn't have this issue. He came at me. And I was like, oh, okay. We can do this without anyone dying, because I defended myself, and when he did hit me, it was, it wasn't fun, but it was fine. Yeah. And then we went at it, and it was a good fight, and that's the day I learned to overcome my timidness, just to hit people without hurting them. Right. Right, so now I'm taking that one step further, where my hits are going to actively injure people, where my hits are actually going to kill people. Right. And I think that there's a big difference in a group of people who have been tested that way, rather than a group of people who have been tested in a different way. Right. Yeah, so even just the mentality of it, even if not just... So, like, the preparation, the mentality of it, there's also probably been some of the difference in, like, training of what they're actually learning. What you're actually learning, yeah. We see stuff in the manuals where you're like... I mean, I guess. But against someone who's actually trying to hurt you, I don't think this is a thing. Right. And it's not always what you would expect. But, like, some of the stuff you're like, that... I don't think it's real. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe it would work in a tournament for, like, scoring points or, like, something in a duel. Well, or also it would work if you are, like, exceptionally a master and they're nobody. Right. Yeah. Like, the stuff that I can pull off against students who are fresh in first sparring, and what I can pull off against people who are better than me or who are on my level is radically different. Yeah. There's some very basic things that just stop working. when you use them against people who know what's happening. And so, like, that's another aspect of it. And people who train in a system that you're fighting people who don't train in your system is also very strange.
Yeah.
If you are being taught in a sort of prescriptivist, when they do this attack, you do this defense. When you're in this guard, they should be doing this, etc., etc.
Right.
That's what I was talking about earlier, the difference between fencing a decision tree and fencing a concept.
Right.
Of a decision tree in terms of, like, protecting this line or protecting the... So, like, sometimes when I fight people who do an Italian style versus the German style I have to think a little bit more in terms of, okay, like, that's not a place that I stand. That is not a footwork I do. That is not a guard I take. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
So I need to fence in a way that draws out their actions so that I can get used to what they're doing before I fully engage.
Right.
And that's the same thing. I think the same is true with people who have been fencing against the same people who do the same thing as them.
Right.
Or people who have fought people outside of their system.
Right.
I think the military training would be the same in a melee setting.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
Also, fighting from horseback is not as complicated as it's often made out to be. There's one.
Yeah. I mean, if you can ride a horse.
Fighting another person on horseback is pretty complicated, I think, because there's a lot to deal with. Also, you have to worry about a 2,000-pound animal crushing your leg if you're too close.
Yeah.
But also, in horseback fencing, you have to worry about someone going behind you where you can't look.
Yeah.
Right, so we have a fencing manual where you fight all the way up here, and then you can fight here, but here you just punch backwards and hope.
Fair. That makes sense.
Because people whooshing past you requires a different weapon. So we saw the issue with some swords that they don't have a tendency to thrust on horseback because they don't have a back edge. So if you punch in like this with a curved blade, curved outwards, so like you have a half circle with the inside being on you, if you punch that way, it's going to rip out of your hand.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a back edge, then you're stuck.
Yeah.
So, and this way, and one of the examples again is the 1796 has a hatchet tip, which is sort of like the tip of a katana, like that kind of a weird flat on one side and then curve. You don't have a huge point here.
Yeah.
So you can't punch with the outside edge on this side because you'll just slide off. So you have to do it this way, but then you'll get your arm ripped off. If you put it through a person, it gets like stuck in a ribcage.
Right.
So you see weapons that were often used by people who did a lot of horseback stuff for a very long time, like for example the Hungarians or the Poles, they have very sharp back edges, so that when you cut through this way, it just rips through a person.
Because that would be important.
Or they have a sharper point, so you can do it this way, and then just allow the sword to fly backwards and come out. So if you ever find a 1796 that's been sharpened to a spear point, like the French had spear points on their horseback soldiers, that was one that was at Waterloo, because Wellington had them all go to spear point. They had them shave down the edges to go to spear point, so they'd have a better time fighting the French.
Oh, interesting. Yep. Okay.
On horseback.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so there's some of that.
Yeah. I read a book once where they had people sword fighting on top of dragons, and I was like, no.
Like, yeah, on the top of a train?
Dragons.
On the same dragon, or like from dragon
Different
to dragon?
Dragons!
How big were your sword? How big were the dragons?
I don't know. No, it didn't seem right. Dragons were too big. I don't know.
Unless you had like weapons longer than the wingspan, that wouldn't work.
Which would make sense.
Or you're sat right at the neck.
That could be more.
But then they'd have to be like hummingbirds where they could like hover.
And they're just sitting there not trying to eat each other.
But that's the thing with horses too. War horses are trained to be mean.
Yeah.
Like they'll bite, they'll kick. Like they had horses that were meant to like kick forward and like kick people in the face.
Yeah.
And kick backwards and then just bite at other horses. Race horses in some countries are trained to nip. I used to ride and I got a racehorse one day instead of my normal horse because my horse is sick. They're trained differently. Racehorses and normal horses are trained with opposite commands for go and stop in terms of pull. Because on a racehorse, a jockey will pull up, and that means them to just keep going. On a normal horse, you do this to make them stop.
Yeah.
It's the first time I tried to make that horse stop, and I pulled it, just went. Galloped right at the front of the stall. Power slid and slammed me into the stall. It was not a pleasant experience. That foot then came out of the stirrup, and I fell sideways.
Reasonable.
Sideways on a horse. Don't do that. It's very, very terrifying, especially as a fourth grader. But also, like, we did classes as a group, so you'd, like, follow, the horses would follow each other, and my horse would stand in the back and just bite the ass of the horse in front of me, just because that's what racehorses are trained for.
Right, yeah.
I was a 4th grader. I don't know why they gave me a racehorse.
Yeah, that sounds like that was a poor choice on their...
yeah, I stopped going to that stables because the guy who ran it was kind of a creepy drunk, so...
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're painting a picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Fighting on dragon to dragon would only work if they're, like, horse-sized.
Yeah. And then, like...
Or they're so big
yeah.
that it's more like elephants in Lord of the Rings, where there's, like, a structure built onto the back of them.
And you could have multiple, yeah.
You could, like, jump on over.
Yeah.
Or shoot over, or whatever.
Yeah. I saw it on, like, with, like, giant, like, bigger than dire wolf size things, too, where it's, like, you have to climb up and they're, like, fighting each other on horseback. And I'm like, why would you have a sword? Like, a normal sword... if you're on top of a giant dire wolf.
I'd want like a lance.
Right, like you want something like, and even then it's like, you're not going to do as much as that wolf's claws and teeth. Like, they're giant.
Unless it's mid-run.
Sure, like if you're running
like
past and
people.
You're like, that's not what it was.
Yeah, I'd want like a large axe.
Yeah.
Or like a glaive or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about dumb weapons for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so the one thing I mentioned earlier
right.
that we come back to is melee weapons with projectile weapons attached.
Right.
Okay. You see them all over museums. But I've never heard of them being used for real.
Right.
And I don't know if they're just like a cool thing to have when you're rich and have nothing else to buy.
Yeah, like some rich lord is like, you peasant, fetch me a boar and then I'm going to murder it with this because it's funny. Because I can.
There's, in Dresden at the museum, they have a whole room dedicated to this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dedicated to 2 things.
Okay.
Cases of swords and rapiers with other weird things attached to them. Like one that has like a button that if you push it and the handle, the pommel pops out and it's a dagger. Sneaky dagger. I
feel like there'd be easier ways to get a dagger, but okay.
No, but it's like you're sword fighting and you bind and you click and you pull and you thrust. Like, that's what I would imagine it's for. Or swords that have, like, pop open parrying hooks.
Yeah.
Like, if you're fencing and you're bound, you can just go, psh, and the sword does this and you can catch their sword with it. I don't know. I imagine that's what it's for. I've never seen anything written about them. They seem silly.
Yeah.
But then guns on blades is, like, a favorite dumb thing of mine.
Yeah. Like,
rapiers with, like... normally the barrel is along the blade.
Yeah.
And you'd have to imagine that if they're off even by a little bit, you'd shatter the blade the second you shot.
Yeah.
But we've seen versions of that are so stupid. My favorite is it's like a pistol as the crossguard, and then like a sword that comes out. So to shoot them, you have to hold your sword perfectly up and down.
Like, am I gonna do like an overhead, or am I gonna shoot you?
It's a rapier, so it's one-handed. So you'd have to be like balancing with like a
literally going this
like
to shoot.
2 pounds of sword sticking out the top of your gun.
Hey, at least you don't have to worry about the rebound.
Right. Just rebound up and bring the sword down. Also, I think pole arms with guns on them are funny.
Oh my god.
A halberd with a gun on the top, pointing in the direction of the top spike. So you'd cut and then you just go... If you missed, I guess. I don't know. There was a spittoon, which is like a crescent with a spike in the middle Italian pole arm.
Okay, yeah.
Where the arms fold down and are like spring loaded, so you could stab someone, and then you'd have like a bunch of little hooks on the end of it, and it climbs up. It's like a people catcher, like it'll get tangled and close. That's what it said on the placard. I was like, I don't know about that, guys.
I can just imagine though having a character that like fancies themselves like some sort of like inventor, and
artificer inventor.
Right, all these weird weapons, and they try to use them in weird scenarios, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
So dumb. I think the dumbest one that I've ever seen, and also probably my favorite, was a one-handed small mace with 2 rondels. So your hand just stuck here, and you had like a little mace like here. But the top rondel's like that thick. I was like, what the hell? And there's like a hole in it, and you're like, oh, what? So there's a 1 bullet in the rondel of this mace. So the barrel is like 3 millimeters.
Right.
It's like that much space.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what you do. Hit someone and from point blank pull the trigger? Because it's not like that has any way to be any way accurate. Like,
right, you have to be close.
Barrel length dictates accuracy on some level, like helps with it. And so like no barrel out of the hilt of a mace
You gotta punch and shoot.
Well, I wonder if you just hit someone and then pull the trigger as you, like, connected with them.
Yeah.
Or, like, hit them in the head and blow their face off, I guess, or something. I don't know. But it's so dumb, and I love them so much.
Yeah.
And the thing in the museum in Dresden is they were all gifts to one guy.
Yeah.
From his wife throughout the years.
Oh, God.
Okay? And there's like 3 versions of this in my head.
Uh-huh.
He once upon a time said he likes these things and thinks they're funny, and she gave him one every single time there was a present to give. Right?
Yeah.
They're all a joke.
Yeah.
So, like, these aren't real. Like,
right.
She just had them made for shiggles.
Because it's funny.
Because she thinks they're funny.
Right.
Or she's sleeping with the smith and is actively just, like, 100% funding his entire life by buying these dumb things for her husband to keep her, like, mistress guy...
Her manstress.
Is that what we're calling it?
That's what I call it.
Her mister doesn't sound right.
No.
Her manstress.
Yeah.
Like, in huge swaths of money, because these are all hyper intricate,
super
like,
expensive,
not meant to be used in the way how pretty they
right.
are. Like, stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know if they were ever used. I've never seen anything written about them. Like, there's slightly less dumb things along those lines. I saw an S-stock with a gun on it, which means you'd stab someone with it and then just unload into them. Crossbows with a flick-up knife at the front, which is really funny to me.
Yeah.
But that's more bayonet-y, and that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And bayonets make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, halberds with guns attached are just...
It's...
my favorite dumb...
There are so many funny story opportunities with that, though. Like, even better than the, like, eccentric dude who keeps making these weird weapons to use. Mm-hmm. But, like, what if he only uses them because his wife keeps sending them to him? So he has to keep using them, but he's so talented that he can, like, survive despite the awful weapons she sends him.
Or it's one of those weird things where you have a ruler who really, really likes them and creates an entire unit just of these things because he wants to and they have to because they don't have a choice.
Right. And then they're all just like, yes, we're those people.
Right? Like, you've always had, like, special units, but you've also had special units based on weirdo ruler, like, needs and wants. Mm-hmm. There's a group called the Lange Kerls, who were under Frederick the First, I think, in Prussia. Or second, I can't remember. You had to be over 6'6" to join the unit. And it was like the beginning of eugenics. He kept trying to find, like, tall women to breed with his tall bodyguards. So he could have tall babies to put into his unit of tall people. Lange Kerls literally just means long boys. It's just a bunch of tall dudes. It's a tall dude army. Right? And it was like a bodyguard unit. And he was not that tall. So it's just monster dudes around this little
maybe
Kaiser
they made
guy.
Him feel safe.
Yeah, maybe he just wanted to be little.
Yeah.
So you just get uppies. But yeah, so, like, we've had that kind of stuff before. There's a part of me that wanted to get the insignia from them and, like, just pass it out to tall people at tournaments, and then I realized it was very eugenics-y, so, like, I stopped.
Yeah.
But this is a bright orange insignia, too. It's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah, they're so dumb.
People
but, like,
do dumb stuff.
Units, yeah, it's absolute power is an absolute corruption, blah, 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 but it's also just absolute dumb sometimes. Mm-hmm. Just, you have the power to do whatever you want, and if you have a sense of humor, that can be really entertaining for people.
Yeah. Because people always assume, like, oh, you either have, like, these super great benevolent rulers that can do all the things, and then the horrible ones that are corrupt and do bad things.
But there's a lot of middle ground.
There's a lot of middle ground for shenanigans.
Let's be real. If we were royalty, we'd do shenanigans.
I know. There'd be so many shenanigans. There'd be so many weird... My friend always jokes, the other Maddie, about what would happen if she was the world ruler. And it's just, like, the weirdest things. Like, I would have a whole wing of my palace that's just for cats. And every piece of furniture, it's just, like, 4 cats to run around on the walls. And they'd be, like, flying over your heads, just, like, these herds of cats everywhere. And, like, just random stuff like that. Yeah, and, and I'd 100%. Make them wear this. And, like...
What are you going to do? What's the Mel Brooks joke? It's good to be the king.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. So many shenanigans.
Yeah. Endless. Endless shenanigans. Well, endless is the coffers, at least.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There you go. That's why you have to wage wars, steal other people's money to make more cat wings. You've seen cat armor, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's a beautiful suit of Japanese horse armor that makes the horse look like a dragon.
Oh, my God.
It's like you know, those, like, those, like, big, like, dancing streamers or whatever that look like dragons.
Yeah.
And it's like that, but it's horse barding.
That's great.
For, like, a little Japanese horses.
That's great.
Hilarious. I kind of want it.
I really need to find someone who, like, specializes in, like, various, like, Asian martial arts of various forms. It's like one of the things I find so fascinating is that they have a whole martial arts style that's just meant for like TV and movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a whole separate style. Like they're like I feel like we don't really do that in like more Western media. Like we try to make it look real. Like
well, we
don't, like,
do in the
suck at
sense
it.
that it's all terrible and not real
Right.
and has
Well,
nothing to do with actual
we
sword
just
fighting.
do it badly.
Yes.
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 But like they have like a whole separate thing that's like one of the things that like cracks me up because one of the shows we're watching like cinematographically.
Sure.
Yeah, that word. It's beautiful. It's so well done. Like you can tell the production quality is so good. But then they still do like when it's like a fight scene, they still do those like super fake, like they're clearly on like the little thing, so they're just like going through the air like this. And it's like
movies,
well, I love it too, but it's like you can tell it's not a like a budget thing, right? It's not like it's just bad low budget things.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like that is very intentional, very much what they wanted to look like.
We should watch Kung Fu Hustle.
We should.
Have you seen it?
No, we should.
It's that plus like weird magical kung fu final
epic.
moves kinds of stuff.
That would be epic. My favorite, like I watch
or like
very little TV
soccer.
that's in English. I normally watch either like historical
Nerd.
K-dramas, historical C-dramas, occasionally other things. I've watched a few like Vietnamese ones, a few Japanese ones, but like
You're
I
a
love
weeb.
it. Yes.
Or whatever the collective term is for weebs who don't just do Japanese stuff.
Yes. I love all of it. I think it's I think it's so fascinating because it's so different from all the like historical stuff we have here. Like they have like it's just so different, and I really enjoy it. And I'd love to talk to someone who like studies the sword fighting to understand how that like stylized like theatrical sword fighting relates to like real sword fighting in terms of like culturally and like for people that do that like. I don't know.
I was just having a conversation with someone about the idea of flirting during a sword fight because that's such a trope. Right?
Yeah.
And we decided the only way to do that is if both people aren't taking it seriously, or just like having fun.
Right.
Or one person is just so much better than the other person to have the level of control required to just be like, and no, and here's a kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be entertaining. There's so much fun stuff to do in sword fights.
Yeah.
Oh, trope. You can't monologue during a sword fight. Shut up.
Oh my god. Yes. Or like when they get like locked in the binds for long extended periods of time.
It only happens if both people are super tired.
Right. And you're both like, okay, let's take it. Like you hold me up, I'll hold you up, we'll hang out here for a minute, dude. Like.
No, because once you go to the bind, you just punch them.
Yeah. Or headbutt them or like something.
Yeah. Or as we mentioned before, Sparta kicked them in the groin.
Exactly. Yeah, I will say I've gone back and read some of my fight scenes that I wrote.
That you had written?
That I wrote previously before I started like actually researching stuff, and I was just like doing shit, and I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. Like I had spinning, I like all sorts, and I was just like,
there is spinning. You just have to be really good.
It was not used correctly.
Yeah.
It was not good. It was. If you were to pick the top 100 like scenarios in which someone would use spinning, was not in that list. It was like not anywhere near the list.
It is one of my favorite gags from sort of mainstream anime. I think it's called The Dragon Prince, where the guy keeps fighting and then like, someone will try to sweep his legs and he's like, "There's no sweeping the leg in sword fighting." His instructor always yells at him, and then he fights like elves and they just keep whipping his feet out from underneath him. And he's like, "There is sweeping the leg in sword fighting."
Yeah, I mean like
you just gotta use it right.
Yeah, there's scenarios for it, but like, oh, you gotta do it right.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny.
It's so bad. It was so bad for so many reasons. At some point, if you're like, you know what, I want to just like waste a week of my life, I'll send you that manuscript and you can cry.
Or just laugh.
But like cry so hard you like laugh so hard you cry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like.
Okay, I wasn't thinking this is so sad.
No. No, I mean it's like it's got some problems with it.
Yeah, well.
There's a reason why it is shelved, but...
You've read the beginnings of the manuscript I sent you.
Uh-huh.
I started that way before I started sword fighting. Oh, it's rough.
But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's
I haven't got into
bad,
a lot
though.
of sword fighting scenes yet.
That's fair.
So, like,
that's
fine.
True. That's true.
That's coming up in the next chapter.
Fair. Okay. Anticipation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just for the clickbait, reverse grip is dumb. For the bait.
Yeah, fair. Reverse grip, 2 longswords.
Yeah. Annoys me.
I mean, unless literally all you're doing is trying to, like, stab something into the ground.
Unless it's like a coup de grace, yeah.
Right, but, like, other than that, like, where you're just doing this. Because, like, then it's a little hard, like, that's a little harder, but, like, that's about the only...
Okay, once I saw someone use reverse grip in a tournament and succeed with it in a sword and buckler tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Stanson is 6'4". Mm. He's almost as tall as me. And he's just exceptionally good, so he stunts on people. Which makes him kind of a tool. But I saw him parry someone's sword, throw his sword up, catch it in the reverse grip, and bring it down over top of the other guy's shield. Stab him square in the face. And I saw him do it 3 times. He's just stunting on people. Because he's that good. He's like in the top 10 for most like competitive weapons that he competes in the world. Yeah. He's just that good.
Yeah. That's very entertaining.
Really funny and so mean. Mm-hmm. But it was cool.
I feel
Give him bats. Total cool points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for
glad we finally got to do this.
I know. We've only been planning this a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good. Done. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you again, Chris. And I'll see you in the next one.